audio lag on these, and I'm working to fix that, but also I'll be back in the office next week, and we will not have that issue. Yay! So today is Fundum Friday. I'm Alex Glow with Hackster, and we're going to talk about some Kickstarter projects that you can fund that bring 3D printing in better ways to you and to the world. So first up, we've got the Beast V2. These people have funded other printers already, and so they know what they're doing. Clearly they do, because they're over 6 times funded already, and this thing is really a beast. So my take on this is that it's designed for people who are like running their own fabrication shop, like they're actually 3D printing things maybe professionally or like in a really high grade environment. It runs about $2,000. Yeah, and that's not bad. And you get a really intense printer that has this enclosed box that it lives inside, and that means that you get a lot less like temperature fluctuation and like dust and other things going on that could mess with your prints. It's also huge. It's got this massive build volume, as they call it. 490 by 500 by 670. I'm assuming that's millimeters actually, but I'm not sure. It's definitely not like feet. And they have this sort of swappable hot end set. So the hot end is the bit that actually like melts the filament and, and puts it down. So not only do they have their own hot ends, but they also have an ability to swap out other ones, so that if you have one that you already really like, or that does something specific that you need, then you can swap out your own one and it'll probably be compatible, which is pretty cool. They're pretty excited about the wide array of different materials that they can support. Also, you can have up to like 4 hot ends and extruders going at the same time. That's insane! That's ridiculous! Why would, like, okay, why is like A, because it's cool, and B, maybe you're running a shop or something and you need to churn out a ton of these things, like 4 prints at a time. That's nuts, with different materials and stuff as well, of course. Optimized part cooling, all this cool stuff. So it's really designed like with high detail, large things, high detail, large throughput, so you can do multiple things at a time, etc. This is really something that sort of, if you're a professional, that you would do well to support. Let's see when this is coming out. It is coming out in August 2018, so you'll get this pretty fast, and considering that these folks have already put out, like successfully fulfilled a couple of Kickstarters, you know that that's going to probably be dependable, which is really nice. They also are fully funded, so you have 12 days to get in line for this, and yeah, you should probably actually get it at a reasonable price. It seems like a good deal. Next up, I have a little bit of sadness about this one. They have 48 hours to go, and they're only like 1/6 funded, which makes me sad. But the thing with this Kickstarter is that it's awesome. They had to set a high goal because they actually need a ton, like a literal ton of this powder in order to be able to fulfill their goal. So they kind of had to have a really high funding limit, which makes me sad. But it's really cool. It basically takes all this plastic waste and crushes it into powder, and they want to use that to 3D print stuff, which is obviously a great idea. The rewards aren't like super compelling, but they've got a bunch of really cool design. I basically wanted to share this one because if you feel like jumping in, swooping in the last 48 hours and like saving this Kickstarter for the amazing like recycled 3D printing powder, that would be obviously amazing. Anyone that's in our community, I don't know, maybe you're rich, that'd be great. But also, like, it's great to see this move towards sort of sustainable materials in 3D printing, because we have this thing where like you can 3D print sort of whatever, and that means that in the future ideally we'll have less waste because you can just print what you need when you need it. We're not there yet, obviously. In the meantime, like it's very easy to end up with a ton of scrap. And we interviewed someone a while ago who, his name's Jason. He's running his own 3D Hubs 3D printing shop, and he saves all of the extra PLA and stuff, even though we don't have good recycling technology yet. He knows that we will eventually, and so it's very A, sustainable, and B, like money-wise, to just save that extra stuff that is constantly being produced. Like anytime you like print something with a raft or a skirt or whatever, that's extra material. And that could be used. My guess with this one is that it's for sintering. So if you're not totally familiar with all the different types of 3D printing yet, this used fused deposition modeling, which is like, you know, you take the filament, you heat it up, you melt it, you squeeze it through a tiny hole, and then you like print stuff with it. Sintering is a different process where you have two level beds of powder. One of them is the build platform, and that starts with a very thin layer of powder on it, and then you like bond that powder together in a layer. Instead of just laying down a layer of something, you bond, you know, selectively within a whole bed of powder. And that can be done with heat or glue or whatever. And then you like, there's this swiper like swipes a new layer of powder on top, because the sort of bed that provides the powder gets lifted up a tiny amount, and the print bed where your thing is being built gets lowered a tiny amount, so that when it swipes over, then a thin layer of powder is transferred over. And that's, I'm assuming that's how they're planning to use this, but it's kind of cool to just see the different types of 3D printing that people are trying to develop with this recycled material. Speaking of which, my third one for you today is the GigaBot X, which is a large-scale recycled plastic pellet 3D printer. And this one is exciting because they did make their goal, and they have 10 days to go. Very exciting. So they use little cube pellets. According to the GigaBot team, this is 10 times cheaper than using extruded filament, and it's also better for the environment. And this actually seems like a really great way to start integrating recycled materials into the stream of production. They can also mix these pellets with other materials like sand and carbon fiber and whatnot, which is exciting. Plus the prints look seriously nice. I really like this project, and I hope that they keep getting funded. So let's see. You also have the chance to get some pretty sweet swag, including like a flight patch and a cap and stuff. So here is the sort of breakdown of rewards. And again, this is called the GigaBot X. Let's see when it ships. They're shooting for June 2018. Oh, for that, those are the like swag perks. You can get a print head in September. You can get a pellet conversion kit. If you have a previous printer from this same company, you can convert it to work with this, and you'll be getting that in November. And if you get 3D printer beta printer itself, you're looking at December. Yeah, cool. So then again, we are looking at the Beast V2, which is sort of like an incredible like beast of a 3D printer for professional applications. Then we have this 3D printing recycled waste powder that I really hope they succeed. They have 48 hours to go, you got 2 days. And then we have the GigaBot X. This one is also totally open source, which is pretty cool. And it seems like a really good printer anyway, like even without the recycling aspect, which I think is really important. Like, look how big that is too. And it looks really easy to use. Very exciting. I also want to mention a couple of other types of 3D printers since we are here, and I have them here. I got this 3D printing pen for really cheap, and it turned out to be a really great tool. Oh, I didn't dig out my... So I used this to print with flexible, biodegradable, natural colored filament onto cloth. And if you've seen this tutorial that was going around, you can take like mesh tulle fabric or even like other types of regular fabric and sort of sandwich them between 3D prints. And I find that the pen is really good for that. I have been able to print on a piece of paper with this, which is an M3D Micro, but it's kind of harder to hold the material in place, and I really like the flexibility that the 3D printing pen affords you. Also, you have a lot more control just in case something like goes weird with the heating or whatever, you know. It's not as replicable, but I think for a lot of applications this is going to be like whatever you're using it to 3D print, you're gonna enjoy the flexibility of this rather than repeatability. So there were some people that like 3D printed dragon scales on top of a piece of fabric so that you could make this like armor stuff that's really flexible and wearable. So that's just another type of 3D printer. And while we're here, two quick recaps about recent ones that we covered here. The Maker Uno is a $6 follow-up to the Arduino Uno by a different group there out of Malaysia. We actually spoke with Ober about this, so check out our interview on YouTube. I'll put the video under this, the link under this video. This is cool because not only is it super cheap, but also they have an LED on each of the digital pins so that you can get instant feedback without plugging stuff in. They've got a piezo buzzer built in, they've got a programmable button built in, all this cool stuff. And it uses micro USB instead of the USB-A little weird box house-shaped one. So I think they did some really substantial improvements, and they're selling it for an incredibly low price. So this is a really cool one to get in on. Yeah. Oh, plus it's got a place in the back to write your name in case you're like using this in a classroom and stuff. It's really designed for education to be like really easy to get up and running with. And they've got 3 days to go. We're so excited about them. Again, there's this interview we did with them. Ober goes over all the cool details of the board, and you can also see us like playing with them and stuff. It's got a really neat example code demo that loads up as soon as you plug it in. And then also the Raspberry Boom atmospheric monitor, which allows you to figure out, if they're to detect subacoustic sound phenomena. So like anything that's below the human threshold of hearing, like you can detect events that are happening thousands of miles away. You can detect with this things like lightning strikes. They've got a really cool rundown of all the different things that you can detect with it, and they also have an online map of all the Raspberry Boom and Raspberry Shake seismometer stations, so that you can see the data coming from each place, and you can contribute to that sort of citizen science network, which I think is really cool. You can get the kit without the Pi. They've got a bunch of different configurations so that, like, based on what you actually need, you can get the cheapest kit or reward level that supplies what you need to, like, build the version that you want. So cool! They launched a high altitude balloon. Love this. This has 7 days to go. They are also, like, almost 10 times overfunded. And when do they ship? Let's see. July 2018. Go for it. Yeah, we'll put the link to that underneath as well. And we did an unboxing with this, which was super fun. I got cut off because the internet connection died, but I'm hoping in the next week we will have an actual like live demo for y'all. So go check that out. Raspberry Pi, Shake and Boom. Atmospheric monitor. The $6 Maker Uno. And then once again, the GigaBot X printer with the recycled little pellet cubes. You can feed it like whatever kind of different material cubes that you have as well, as long as they like are meltable under 300 degrees Celsius and a couple of other parameters. The 3D printed recycled plastic waste and the Beast V2. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome rest of your Fundum Friday and a great weekend. Check out our recent blog post about Yuri's Night for some cool stuff to do this weekend relating to human spaceflight. All right, have a great one. Ciao.